The world of Eldara was once a realm of magic and wonder, where wizards and enchantresses shaped the destinies of empires with their spells, and mighty dragons soared through the skies, casting vast shadows upon the lands below. But all that changed with the rise of King Moro. Long ago, King Moro had been a mere mortal, a powerful mage who studied the arcane secrets of the universe. But unlike his peers who sought balance and understanding, Moro was consumed by a thirst for power. His insatiable hunger for knowledge led him to the forbidden arts, and through them, he discovered a spell that could grant him eternal life. With a heart darkened by ambition, Moro performed the dark ritual and became the Undead King. As the ritual's effects took hold, Moro's once radiant flesh decayed and his eyes, which were once filled with life, now gleamed with an eerie, unholy light. His power, however, grew exponentially. His command over magic surpassed that of any being in Eldara, making him an unstoppable force. And with immortality by his side, there was no one in the realm who could challenge his reign. The first sign of his tyranny was the banishment of other mages. The Undead King knew that to maintain his dominance, he had to eliminate any potential threats. Thus, with a wave of his hand and a whisper of a curse, he erased entire schools of magic, causing towers to crumble and ancient tomes to turn to dust. Powerful sorcerers and wise elders, who once guided the fate of many, were either forced into hiding or were executed, their life essence absorbed by Moro to further fuel his power. The landscape of Eldara began to reflect the cold and ruthless heart of its ruler. Lush forests with trees that whispered secrets turned into barren wastelands. The rivers that sang with the joys of nature now ran silent and desolate. Even the mighty dragons, sensing the shift in the world's essence, disappeared into hidden realms, leaving the skies empty and devoid of their majesty. But it wasn't just the world that changed, the people did too. Under the rule of the Undead King, hope became a scarce commodity. Villages were fortified, not against outside threats, but against their own ruler, as Moro's insatiable greed demanded tribute after tribute. Those who could not pay were taken away to the Obsidian Castle, the heart of King Moro's realm. None knew what fate befell those who entered its dark walls, but they never returned. At the center of this sprawling fortress was the Black Spire, a tower that seemed to pierce the very heavens. It was said that atop this tower, King Moro sat on his throne of bones, watching over his kingdom with an unblinking gaze. Some legends whispered that the Undead King was searching for something, a source of power even greater than his own. But what that was, none could say. While the years turned into decades, and then centuries, the reign of the Undead King seemed to have no end. Generations grew up knowing only fear and oppression. Tales of a time before Moro's rule became myths, spoken of in hushed tones by the elders. Yet, even in the darkest of times, a spark of rebellion persisted. In secret alcoves and hidden chambers, small groups gathered, sharing tales of a prophecy. It spoke of a hero, one with the power to challenge the Undead King and bring an end to his reign. This chosen one would rise from the very heart of Eldara, wielding a magic so ancient and pure that even King Moro would be powerless against it. As the days turned into nights and back into days, this tale spread like wildfire, bringing a glimmer of hope to the oppressed people. But the Undead King, with his vast network of spies and dark magic, was not oblivious to these whispers. His wrath was unmatched as he hunted down those who dared to speak of the prophecy, ensuring that no uprising would challenge his dominion. Yet, unknown to King Moro, the wheels of destiny had already begun to turn. In a small village at the edge of the realm, a child was born under the rare alignment of 3 moons. The birthmark on the baby's wrist, a mark that resembled the ancient symbol of Eldara, was a sign that the prophecy was coming to fruition. And as the world of Eldara continued its slow turn, the stage was set for an epic clash between the forces of darkness and light. The fate of the realm hung in the balance, waiting for the chosen one to rise and challenge the Undying Tyrant's reign. In the village of Lisa, the birth of young Elara was nothing short of a miracle. Her radiant blue eyes seemed to hold the very essence of the skies, and her laughter was like the forgotten melody of Eldara's past. But it was the mark on her wrist, the emblem of the ancient land, that marked her as special. The village elders, recognizing the significance of her birth, ensured that her identity remained a secret from the prying eyes of the Undead King's spies. As Elara grew, it became evident that she possessed an innate ability to tap into the ancient magics of the land. She could summon the winds with a mere gesture, make flowers bloom with a whispered word, and even commune with the ethereal spirits of the old world. The elders, realizing the importance of her gifts, took it upon themselves to train her in the arts of magic and combat, preparing her for the destiny that awaited. Years passed, and tales of Elara's deeds spread through the whispers of the wind. She healed the sick, restored barren lands, and drove away the dark creatures that Moro occasionally unleashed upon the villages. Word of a mage with unparalleled power, one who bore the mark of Eldara, reached even the furthest corners of the realm. People began to rally behind her, seeing in her the hope they had yearned for. But with fame came danger. The Undead King, upon hearing of Elara's rise, grew restless on his throne of bones. He dispatched his deadliest assassins and dark sorcerers to capture her, but they all returned defeated, or not at all. Frustration turned to obsession, as Moro recognized in Elara the embodiment of the prophecy he had sought to suppress. Determined to face the threat head-on, Elara, now a young woman, decided to lead an army to the Obsidian Castle. From every corner of Eldara, warriors, mages, and common folk joined her cause. They trained day and night, united by a singular purpose, to overthrow the Undying Tyrant. The day of reckoning came when Elara's forces stood at the foot of the Black Spire. The skies darkened as Moro summoned thunderstorms and tornadoes, attempting to quell the uprising before it began. But with Elara at the helm, the storms turned into gentle rains, and the fierce winds transformed into a calming breeze. The army advanced, undeterred. Inside the Obsidian Castle, battles raged. Corridors echoed with the clang of swords, and spells illuminated the dark halls. But as Elara ventured deeper, she realized that to truly defeat Moro, she would have to face him alone. Leaving her companions behind, she climbed the Black Spire. Atop the tower, King Moro awaited her. His decaying visage was a stark contrast to his vibrant surroundings, a throne room filled with treasures and artifacts from ages past. The two adversaries locked eyes, and an electric tension filled the air. "You cannot defeat me, child," Moro sneered, his voice echoing with centuries of dominance. "I am eternal." Elara, standing tall and resolute, replied, "It is not your immortality I challenge, but the darkness in your heart. Eldara deserves better." With those words, an epic battle ensued. Eldara's very foundation seemed to tremble as the two most powerful beings in the realm clashed. Spells and curses, light and darkness, hope and despair, it was a spectacle that would be spoken of for generations. Hours seemed like moments, and just as it appeared that neither could gain the upper hand, Elara, channeling the combined hopes and dreams of her people, unleashed a spell so pure and ancient that even the Black Spire trembled. The force of the magic overwhelmed Moro, breaking the dark curse that granted him immortality. As the Undying Tyrant fell, the Obsidian Castle began to crumble. Elara, using the last of her strength, transported herself and her allies to safety. As they looked back, the once imposing fortress was nothing but ruins, and the land of Eldara, for the first time in centuries, was free. But victory came at a price. Elara, having expended an immense amount of energy, fell into a deep slumber. Her body was placed in a crystal chamber in the heart of Lisa, where it was said she would rest until Eldara needed her once more. With the threat of the Undead King gone, the world began to heal. Forests bloomed, rivers sang, and the dragons, sensing the return of balance, soared the skies once again. Eldara was reborn, and with it, hope. With the fall of the Undying Tyrant, the land of Eldara underwent a renaissance. Villages that had once lived in the shadow of fear and oppression began to flourish. Trade routes reopened, ancient arts were revived, and magical schools were established to ensure that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. In every town square, statues of Elara were erected as a reminder of the sacrifice she made for their freedom. But as the decades turned into centuries, memories faded, and complacency set in. The tales of Moro's tyranny and Elara's heroism transitioned from historical accounts to legends, and then to mere bedtime stories told to children. And as it often happens, with the waning of collective memory, old threats find new roots. In the shadows of the ruined Obsidian Castle, a cult emerged, dedicated to the revival of King Moro. They believed that the Undead King's reign, despite its darkness, had brought order and unity to Eldara. These followers, calling themselves the Morosian sect, began conducting dark rituals in an attempt to resurrect their fallen leader. In Lisa, the crystal chamber holding Elara became a pilgrimage site. But over time, its significance diminished, and it became more of a tourist attraction than a sacred space. That was until one fateful evening when the chamber began to glow with an ethereal light, and the ground trembled with a gentle rumble. The elders of Lisa, remembering the ancient prophecies, recognized these signs. They believed that if Elara's chamber was reacting this way, it meant a great imbalance was once again threatening Eldara. The council decided to convene a group of skilled mages to investigate the disturbances. As the mages ventured towards the ruins of the Obsidian Castle, they were ambushed by members of the Morosian sect. After a fierce battle, The mages were captured and brought to the heart of the ruins where the cult was attempting to resurrect Moro. Using dark magic, the sect had gathered remnants of Moro's essence, and with each ritual, he was growing stronger. Back in Lisa, seeing the dire situation, the council decided to approach Elara's chamber. To their astonishment, the crystal began to resonate with their chants and slowly started to crack. From within, Elara emerged, not a day older than when she had entered her slumber. The land itself seemed to react to her awakening, with flowers blooming and the winds carrying whispers of hope. With a sense of urgency, Elara, accompanied by a group of Eldara's bravest warriors, headed towards the obsidian castle. As they approached, they could feel the dark energy emanating from the ruins. Inside the castle, a fierce battle raged. The Morosian sect, empowered by the nearly resurrected Moro, proved to be formidable opponents. But Elara, with her unparalleled magic, led the charge. With every spell she cast, members of the sect were either defeated or had their allegiance swayed, realizing the error of their ways. The climax of the confrontation occurred in the very chamber where Moro's essence was being restored. Elara, using her deep connection with the land, summoned the spirits of Eldara's past, the mages, warriors, and even the mighty dragons. Together, they channeled a spell that not only halted Moro's resurrection but also purified the land of his lingering influence. With the threat neutralized, Elara addressed the remnants of the Morosian sect. Instead of retribution, she offered them a chance at redemption, emphasizing that Eldara's strength lay in unity and understanding, not division. The land once again entered an era of peace. But this time, steps were taken to ensure that history would not be forgotten. Schools were established to teach the tales of old, and annual festivals were held in remembrance of the battles fought and the heroes who stood tall. Elara, having fulfilled her duty, chose not to return to her slumber. Instead, she traveled across Eldara, ensuring that the seeds of hope, unity, and resilience were sown in every corner. And so, Eldara thrived, not just as a land of magic and wonder, but as a realm where stories of the past shaped the promises of the future. The legacy of the Undying Tyrant served as a constant reminder of the dangers of unchecked power, while Elara's tale inspired generations to stand up for what's right, even in the face of overwhelming darkness. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more stories. Until next time, take care and keep watching.